Dear viewers, this is the second video on the same poem, Passion, written by Charlotte Bronte. In the earlier session, we discussed how the first seven stanzas of the poem express the love of a soldier to his beloved. That highlights poet's romantic tendencies and speaks of her ideas on love. The poem records a soldier's love for his girl. He makes his position clear in the context of his profession, which takes him to different countries. He craves for her love, explaining his adventure and achievements. An English soldier is pleading before his girl to accept his deep love for her. So he expresses his love, purity of his love, and also he presents his love so bright without any taint, and he requests his beloved to accept it. So here we do continue to read the remaining stanzas, and also let us understand the theme and the substance of the poem and different interpretations possible. And after the reading of this poem, it is sure that you will understand the whole poem, and you will be able to explain the different levels of the meanings in this poem. So now let us discuss the remaining stanzas of the poem. The remaining stanzas here, the next stanza: passion's strength should nerve my arm, its ardor stir my life, till human force to that dread charm should yield and sink in wild alarm, like trees to tempest strife. See, this stanza tells pure love makes him bold to go for war. Pure love makes him bold to go for war. Passion of love strengthens him physically, and it inspires him mentally till the last minute of the human force that yields to the dread war. Dread charm means war, and falls down like trees fall for the force of the tempest. The wars are here called the dread charm, and till the last breath of human life, soldier fights for the victory in the war. So this is what we can understand out of this stanza. Here he says pure love makes him bold to go for love. ಈ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಅವನನ್ನು ಹೆಂಗೆ ಬೋಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಪ್ಯಾಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಲವ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೆಂಥನ್ಸ್ ಹಿಮ್ ಫಿಸಿಕಲಿ. ಅವನಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಆ ಪ್ಯಾಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಲವ್ ಅವನ್ನ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ದೈಹಿಕವಾಗಿ, ಮತ್ತು ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೈರ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಟಿರ್ಸ್ ಹಿಮ್ ಮೆಂಟಲಿ. ಅವನಿಗೆ ಮಾನಸಿಕವಾದಂಥ ಸ್ಥೈರ್ಯವನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ, ಇನ್ಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. ಹೆಂಗೆ ಅಂದರೆ till the last minute of the human force yields to the dread charm. ಆ ವಾರ್ಗೆ ಈ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಫೋರ್ಸು ಈಲ್ಡ್ ಆಗುವ ಕೊನೆಯ ಮಿನಿಟ್ಟಿನವರೆಗೆ, ಕೊನೆಯ ಸೆಕೆಂಡಿನವರೆಗೆ ಅವನನ್ನು ಸ್ಟ್ರೆಂಥನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಅವನನ್ನು ಮಾನಸಿಕವಾಗಿ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೈರ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಹೆಂಗೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಎಲ್ಲಿಯವರೆಗೆ ಟೆಂಪೆಸ್ಟ್ ಬಂದು ಬೀಳಿಸುವವರೆಗೆ ಮರಗಳು ಸೆಟೆದು ನಿಲ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತಾವಲ್ಲ, ಹಾಗೆ ಆ ಲವ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಇವನನ್ನು ಯುದ್ಧದಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಟೆದು ನಿಲ್ಲುವ ಹಾಗೆ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಫಿಸಿಕಲಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮೆಂಟಲಿ. ದೆನ್ ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾಂಜಾ ರೀಡ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್: ಇಫ್ ಹಾಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ವಾರ್ ಐ ಸೀಕ್ ದೈ ಲವ್, darest thou turn aside, darest thou then my fire reprove by scorn and maddening pride, So he has a little bit doubt that the soldier expresses here. What is that little bit of doubt about his beloved or his beloved's love towards him? That if he remains alive after the war, see, he says here, if heart from war I seek thy love, darest thou turn aside. He says if he remains alive after the war, he seeks her love, but he doubts if she turns aside or rejects his love for his perilous state of life being a soldier. After he remains alive after the war, he comes and begs for her love, or he offers his love towards that girl. He doubts if whether she receives my pure love wholeheartedly, or she just rejects my love for the reason that I do have a perilous state of life as a soldier, being a soldier. She may criticize and reproach. See, darest thou then my fire reprove by scorn and maddening pride? She may criticize and reproach him and his profession as madness, because it is very dangerous. She may be fed up. She may remain fed up with the dangers of a soldier's life, and that's why it may make her to feel, it may make her to criticize and reproach him and his profession as madness. ಅಂದರೆ ಈ ಸ್ಟಾಂಜಾದಾಗ ಅವನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ, ನಾನು ಒಬ್ಬ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ ಆಗಿ ಯುದ್ಧದ ನಂತರ ಉಳಿದು ಬಂದೆ ಅಂದರೆ ನನಗೆ ಜಯ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ, ಆದರೆ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಿಯತಮೆ ಎಲ್ಲಿ, ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಹುಡುಕಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಆದರೆ ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸಂಶಯ ಕಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಏನು ಸಂಶಯ ಅಂದರೆ, ನಾನೇನೋ ಭಾರಿ ಆಸೆಯಿಂದ, ಭಾರಿ ಆಸಕ್ತಿಯಿಂದ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯನ್ನು ಹುಡುಕ್ತೀನಿ. ನನ್ನ ಯುದ್ಧದಲ್ಲಿ ಬದುಕಿ ಬಂದ ಮೇಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಯುದ್ಧದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಜಯ ಪಡ್ಕಂದೆ ಅಂತ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಲ್ಲ. ನಾನು ಪ್ರೀತಿಯನ್ನು ಹುಡುಕ್ತೀನಿ. ಆದರೆ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಿಯತಮೆ ನನ್ನನ್ನು ರಿಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ರೆ, ನನ್ನನ್ನು ಪ್ರಿಯತಮೆ ರಿಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ರೆ, ಯಾಕೆ? ಇವನ ಒಬ್ಬ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ನ ಜೀವನ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಅಪಾಯದ ಅಂಚಿನಲ್ಲೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಇಂಥವ್ನು ಕಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಏನು ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಂತ ಅವಳು ನನ್ನನ್ನು ರಿಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ರೆ, ಮತ್ತು ನನ್ನ ಈ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನ್ನು, ಈ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ನ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನನ್ನು ಅವಳು ಇದೊಂದು ಮ್ಯಾಡ್ನೆಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕ್ರಿಟಿಸೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಅಂತ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಡೌಟ್ ಐತಿ. ಬಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾಂಜಾ he consoles himself by saying no. He consoles himself in the next stanza. No, my will shall yet control thy will so high and free, and love shall tame that haughty soul, yes, tenderest love for me. So in the next 4 lines, he consoles himself by thinking, no, his love is so pure and powerful that it surely saves his beloved from him, for him. So his love is so pure and powerful, and that's why he has that confidence. He is very much sure that his love saves his beloved for him, and his love shall purify her soul to preserve the tenderest love for him. His pure love purifies his beloved's love also, and when his beloved's love is purified, surely she shows and preserves her tenderest love for this soldier. ಅಂದರೆ ಈ ಸ್ಟಾಂಜಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವನು ತನ್ನನ್ನು ತಾನು ಸಮಾಧಾನ ಪಡಿಸ್ಕೊತಾನೆ. ಹಿಂಗೆ ಹೇಳಿಕೊಂಡು ಏನಂತ ಸಮಾಧಾನ ಪಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅವಳು ಹಂಗೆ ನನ್ನ ರಿಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ, ನನ್ನ ಈ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನನ್ನು ಒಂದು ಮಿಯರ್ ಮ್ಯಾಡ್ನೆಸ್ ಅಂತ ಅವಳು ಕ್ರಿಟಿಸೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾದರೆ ಅವಳು ಈಸ್ ಲವ್ ಈಸ್ ಸೋ ಪ್ಯೂರ್, ಅವಳನ್ನು ನನ್ನವಳಾಗಿ ಉಳಿತಾಳೆ. ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಐ come back from the war, remaining after the war, if I come back ಸೀಕಿಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ ಮೈ ಲವ್. ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ನಾನು ಮತ್ತೆ ವಾಪಸ್ ಬಂದು ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಿಯತಮೆಯನ್ನು ಹುಡುಕಾಡಿದರೆ ಅವಳು ನನ್ನನ್ನು ರಿಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾ? ಅವನ ಪ್ಯೂರ್ ಲವ್ ಐತಲ್ಲ, ನನ್ನ ಪ್ಯೂರ್ ಲವ್ ಅದು ಎಷ್ಟು ಪವರ್ಫುಲ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಅದು ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೂ ನನ್ನ ಬಿಲವೆಡನ್ನು ಉಳಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳದೆ ಬಿಡಲ್ಲ, ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಿಯತಮೆಯನ್ನು ನನಗಾಗಿ ಉಳಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳದೆ ಬಿಡಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ಅಷ್ಟು ಪವರ್ಫುಲ್, ಅಷ್ಟು ಪ್ಯೂರ್, ಪರಿಶುದ್ಧ, ಅದು ಅಷ್ಟು ಪವರ್ಫುಲ್ ಲವ್ ಅದು ಅವಳನ್ನು ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಅವನ ಆ ಪ್ಯೂರಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಲವ್ ಐತಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಅವನ ಬಿಲವೆಡ್ಗಳ ಪ್ರಿಯತಮೆಯ ಲವನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಪ್ಯೂರಿಫೈ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಎಷ್ಟರ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಅವಳ ಆತ್ಮ ಪ್ಯೂರಿಫೈ ಆಗಿ ಅವಳ ಆತ್ಮದಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಆ ಲವನ್ನು, ಪ್ಯೂರ್ ಟೆಂಡರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಲವನ್ನು ಇವನಿಗಾಗಿ ಮುಡುಪಾಗಿಡ್ತಾಳಂತವಳು. ಹಾಗೆ ಇವನ ಪ್ಯೂರ್ ಲವ್ ಅವಳನ್ನು ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಂತೆ. Now, let's move on to the next stanza. I will read my triumph in thine eyes, behold and prove the change, then live perchance my noble prize once more in arms to range. So what is the triumph in a war? Triumph in a war is victory. Victory of one side. And when there is a victory at one side, there must be defeat on another side. So triumph of war is for the king who wages the war against the other king. But here the triumph for this soldier is not the victory of war, it is the winning of love. It is not the victory of war, it is the winning of love. Triumph for him is not of winning the war, but he wants to perceive it in the eyes of his beloved. He wants to see that victory, see that win in the eyes of his beloved when he comes back and seeks his lover, seeks his beloved and happens to see. He wants to perceive that victory in the eyes of his beloved. If she is back in his arms, itself is his victory and noble prize for his adventures in war. He never expects any prizes for his adventures that have brought the victory for his side. He never expects any prizes. If he gets back his beloved after the war is over and he remains after the war, getting that victory, he comes back seeking his beloved. If he gets that beloved back into his arms, that itself is a noble prize for him. See, in this stanza, how he expresses. ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಯುದ್ಧ ನಡೀತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆ ಯುದ್ಧದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದು ಜಯ? ಒಬ್ಬ ರಾಜನ ಒಂದು ಪಡೆ ಸೋತು ಸತ್ತು ಹೋಗೋದು ಸೋಲು, ಒಂದು ರಾಜನ ಒಂದು ಪಡೆ ಅವ್ರನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಓಡಿಸಿ ಒಂದು ದೇಶನೇ ಕಬಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಜಯ. ಆದರೆ ಈ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ಗೆ ಆ ಜಯ ಯುದ್ಧದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗುವ ಜಯನೇ ಅಲ್ಲಂತೆ. ಇವನಿಗೆ ವಿನ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಈಸ್ ಲವ್, ಅದು ಅವನಿಗೆ ಜಯ ಅಂತ. ಹೆಂಗೆ? ಅವನು ಯುದ್ಧವನ್ನು ಗೆದ್ದ ಮೇಲೆ ಯುದ್ಧದಲ್ಲಿ ಉಳಿದು ವಾಪಸ್ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ, ವಾರನ್ನು ಗೆದ್ದು ಬಂದಾಗ ಅವನು ತನ್ನ ಪ್ರಿಯತಮೆಯ ಕಣ್ಣುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ತನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಜಯವನ್ನು ಕಾಣಕ್ಕೆ ಬಯಸ್ತಾನಂತ. ಅದು ಅವನಿಗೆ ನಿಜವಾದ ಜಯ ಅಂತೆ. ತನ್ನ ಪ್ರಿಯತಮೆಯ ಕಣ್ಣುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಜಯವನ್ನು ಕಾಣೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವನು ಬಯಸ್ತಾನಂತೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಆ ವಾಪಸ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ಇಫ್ ಶಿ ಈಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಇನ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಆರ್ಮ್ಸ್, ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ಆ ಪ್ರಿಯತಮೆ ಅವನ ತೋಳ್ತೆಕ್ಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದುಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು, ಅದು ಯುದ್ಧದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಜಯ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಂಗೆ. ಅವನು ಮಾಡಿದ ಯುದ್ಧದ ಜಯಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಿದ ಅವನ ಸಾಹಸಗಳದವಲ್ಲ, ಅವಕ್ಕೆ ದೊಡ್ಡ ನೊಬೆಲ್ ಪ್ರೈಸು ಕೂಡ ಸಿಕ್ಕಂಗಂತೆ. ದೆನ್ I would die when all the foam is up, the bright wine sparkling high, nor wait till in the exhausted cup life's dull dregs only lie. Then he would die, he says, then he would die with the feeling of triumph in the intoxication of the bright wine of love. So he immediately after he comes back to win that love in the eyes of his beloved, then if he dies, he never bothers. He says, then he would die with a feeling of triumph in the intoxication of the bright wine of love. He does not wait till that wine of love is exhausted to dull dregs lie in his life. So this is how he wants to celebrate his victory, and also he wants to celebrate his death even. If he gets back his love, which he calls it a bright wine, and with that he even can celebrate the victory of the war as well, even he can celebrate his death. ಅವನು ವಾಪಸ್ ಬಂದ ಮೇಲೆ then he would die with a feeling of triumph in the intoxication of the bright wine of love ಅಂತ. ಅವನ ಆ ಬ್ರೈಟ್ ವೈನ್ ಆಫ್ ಲವ್ನ ಇಂಟಾಕ್ಸಿಕೇಷನಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅವನು ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣ ಸಾಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತಾನಂತೆ. Then the last stanza, then love thus crowned with sweet reward, hope blessed with fullness large, I would mount the saddle, draw the sword, and perish in the charge. See, lastly, so beautifully it is brought out as a thematic stanza. And the last stanza seems to be a thematic stanza. There he says, love, it is power, love it is reward, and love it is bliss. Thus love for his is a reward, power, and a blessing that keep him ever satisfied in life. So love is not just love, it is power for him, it is the reward for him, it is the blessing for him. What is the reward? Reward of his adventures in war, and the power to win that victory in the war, and the blessing of the God to win that war, and all that itself is love for him. And it also charges him with courage and strength to get up on the saddle to fight till the last breath of his life, till the last breath, or till he perishes. He will be able to fight and fight with that power of love, with the reward of love, with the blessing of love. So that is the last stanza. ಅಂದರೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಬರೀ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಒಂದು ಪವರ್, ಇದೊಂದು ಶಕ್ತಿ, ಇದೊಂದು ರಿವಾರ್ಡ್, ಇದೊಂದು ಬಹುಮಾನ, ಮತ್ತು ಇದೊಂದು ಬ್ಲೆಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಇದೊಂದು ಕೃಪೆ, ಇದೊಂದು ಏನು ಅನುಗ್ರಹ. ಇದೊಂದು ಈ ಒಂದು ಕೃಪೆ, ಈ ಪವರು ಮತ್ತು ಈ ರಿವಾರ್ಡು ಏನೈತಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಅವನನ್ನು ಸ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಫೈಡ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದಂತೆ ಜೀವನದಾಗೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಇದು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಕರೇಜನ್ನು, ಸ್ಟ್ರೆಂತನ್ನು ತುಂಬ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತದಂತೆ. ಯಾವುದೇ ಗಳಿಗೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕರೆ ಬಂದರೆ ತತ್ಕ್ಷಣ ಕುದುರೆಯ ಬೆನ್ನೇರಿ ಹೋಗುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಇವನು ರೆಡಿ ಇರ್ತಾನಂತೆ. ತನ್ನ ಜೀವಿತದ ಕೊನೆಯ ಉಸಿರಿನವರೆಗೆ, ತಾನು ಇಲ್ಲವಾಗುವವರೆಗೆ ಹೋರಾಡಲು ಇದು ಇವನಿಗೆ ಪವರನ್ನು ಕೊಡುತ್ತಂತೆ, ಸ್ಟ್ರೆಂತನ್ನು ಕೊಡುತ್ತಂತೆ. ಸೊ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಲವ್ ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಹಿಮ್. So let us see lastly throughout this poem, see, love is presented as the passion. Love is presented as passion, but in the form of love, here some important ideas are presented. They are nationality, passion of sacrifice, passion of dedication, passion of patriotism, and it remains so when it is pure to its core. When this love becomes passion of patriotism, when this love becomes passion of nationalism, when this love becomes passion of sacrifice, passion of dedication. It remains so when it is pure to its core. Otherwise, it will never be power, or it will never be blessing, or it will never be reward, so on and so forth. So with this much, we can better understand this poem. So in this video, let us know something about the lines to be annotated. See here, example, any line can be taken for that matter for annotations in the examination. So here, just for some example, here some lines are taken and explained here. Could I gain thy love tonight, I would hazard death tomorrow. If these lines are asked, you will have to identify the lines from which poem these lines are taken, and you should remember the poet's name without any spelling mistake. You will have to write in the exam. So from which poem these lines are taken, and by who that poem is written, that you have to write. And could I gain thy love tonight, I would hazard death tomorrow. What these lines mean, that has to be explained. Here in this love poem, soldier expresses his deep love for his girl. Some get wild happiness by facing wilder sorrow. If he gets her love that night, he would face death the next day itself. See, if the death is going to occur next day, with the promise that tonight he will get his love, he is prepared to die, because he is so satisfied with getting his love tonight that he never bothers to die tomorrow. So that's what he expresses here in these lines. See, so the second example, could I deem that thou would weep to hear my perils told? So in one of the stanzas, these lines occur in the poem Passion, written by Charlotte Bronte, that could I deem that thou would weep to hear my perils told. So he thinks and he believes, if his death news is sent to his beloved, or if his beloved receives his news of death, the death news of his lover, whether she would cry, whether she would weep for the news of the death of her beloved, her lover. So this is what these lines mean. Here the soldier has visited many countries, including India. He has to travel from one country to another, and it is very tough way of life, tough profession of a soldier. So his adventures are very interesting and deadly and even dangerous, and he faces them bravely and comes out successfully. And he has spent sleepless nights thinking of her in the middle of battle. He wants her to listen to his tales of suffering and danger, and all these he presents, but he doubts, and also he believes that if my beloved gets the news of my death, whether she will cry for me. He thinks and he believes she will cry if she is a pure love for him. So that's how you have to explain these lines. And the other lines, blood has dyed the Sutlej's waves with scarlet stain. So these lines, blood has dyed the Sutlej's waves with scarlet stain. I know there is a call for the war that is happening on the bank of the river Sutlej, Indian river Sutlej, and he has to go and participate in the war. But already that war has witnessed the thousands of soldiers' deaths, and the whole water of the river has turned its color to the red one, and the bank of the river area around on the bank of the river has turned to be the graveyard where there are thousands of graves, and they have been yawning day and night, and that you have to explain here. If hot from war I seek thy love, darest thou turn aside. Another two lines example to be annotated. See, if hot from war I seek thy love, darest thou turn aside. See, hot from war means even after the war I remain alive. I come back seeking for you, searching for you. But whether you will accept me when I come back, being a soldier, I live a very dangerous life. I hope that you don't turn aside. So that he doubts, but he also consoles in the later stanza that she is so pure that never she turns aside. She embraces me, she accepts me, she receives me into her heart. Like that, there are few more lines that are annotated here. You can refer them and try to practice how to annotate the lines in the examination. So see the short notes. How does the soldier express his deep love for his girl in the poem Passion? How he expresses his deep love. You can extract some things there from the poem and explain them in more than half a page or in one page. That would be a short answer. Charlotte Bronte's poem Passion is a dramatic monologue. Here a soldier expresses his love to his girl in many ways. The girl in the poem is a silent listener. The soldier has fought in many battles in India and elsewhere. He has killed enemies, faced troubles and difficult days, and he comes back. Time has come for him to make love and settle down in life. He comes back after the war is over, and he wants to get into the arms of his beloved. The brave have wild delight by facing widest sorrow. If he gains her consent that night, he would face death the next day itself. So how he expresses, I am ready to die just tomorrow. If I get that love today, I am ready to die tomorrow itself. All these are his expressions of love towards his beloved. And now let us move on to the last topic of this poem, is that what are the themes highlighted in this poem. Whether this poem is just the poem of love, whether it is the poem just expresses the tendencies, romantic tendencies of the poet. Is it only that much? Is it only that much, or is it only that theme we get out of this poem, we go through in this poem? It is not only that. Let's see what else is there as the highlights of the themes. The themes we see, we can interpret, we perceive in this poem are: the poem has a note of nationalism. Here there is a note of nationalism. The theme of nationalism is there. How? See that soldier is very much in love with that girl, but still he never denies, he never tries to escape from fighting in the war. Means he is ready to go to war because of his love for the country. As he loves his beloved, he has love for his country, love for his nation. So that nationalism is one of the themes in this poem. And then there is a celebration of patriotism. There is a celebration of patriotism, means due to his nation, due to the good of the nation, he is ready to do anything, ready to die for the nation. And he loves his country as he loves his beloved. And that's why he is ready to die. And that is how here he seems to be the best lover as well, the ideal patriotic personality. He is the best lover as well, he is an idealistic patriotic person. And then he is a symbol of sacrifice and symbol of loyalty. Symbol of sacrifice, symbol of loyalty, and he is a man of commitment. He is ready to sacrifice his life for his country. Though he is in love with that girl, being attracted towards that girl or being trapped in that love, he might have turned away from his duty, but he never does so. He remains always ready to sacrifice his life, and that's why it is the theme of sacrifice we see in this poem. And pure love as strength to his mind and body. Here love is not only romantic, only for romance, only for infatuation, but it is strength to his mind and his body, and which he uses for the good of his country. And then love is more valuable than Nobel Award. The earthly or worldly gifts he rejects, but he accepts that valuable love of soul, and that is how he is very much pure in his love. It is also interpreted as an anti-materialistic ideology that is presented by Charlotte Bronte in this poem, because Victorian period was dominated with materialism, materialistic ideology. So against that, here she presents this theme also. Triumph in the war is compared to triumph of love. So triumph, usually the king wages the war against another king, that to grab the kingdom, that to capture the area of a nation. But here the message is passed to the readers that the triumph in war is compared to the triumph of love. So when he comes out of that war field after winning that victory, winning that war, he pursues that victory in the eyes of his beloved. And then love is not just passion, it is power, it is reward, it is treasure, it is blessing. So in what way it is blessing, in what way it is treasure, in what way it is reward, so that can be interpreted in this poem. And death in war as heavenly. So here, to die in war is not the loss of life, it is the way to reach the heaven. How this concept of death to reach the heaven, death as the way to reach the heaven is the ideal of patriotism, ideal of nationalism. So that is very beautifully expressed in this poem. With these interpretations, we can end up this presentation. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.